I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place the mission first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined. Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I'm an expert, and I'm a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am Army Strong.
There's strong, and there's Army Strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at rahardin.com. That's the World Wide Web at rahardin.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Up multiple times a night to use the bathroom. Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
All right, this is Jessie. I'm so happy to be back with you guys, and host Kitty is in the house today. So who knows what opinions the host kitty will have. Alright, there has been a lot that happened over the weekend. I don't know if you realize this, but trust me, there's been a lot. So some of the things that happened, Rafsanjani of Iran passed away. You go, why should I care? Rafsanjani was often one of the more moderate voices, if you can call any voice out of Iran moderate. He was one of the more moderate. He often spoke against the hardliners. So, in a twisted way, the U.S. kind of lost an ally, but not. It's, as always, it's complicated. It's complicated. Yes, it's complicated. So what can I say? There was, of course, the tragedy in Fort Lauderdale. And while I don't normally cover U.S. news, I am working on a special segment for another show that may explain some of these things, because if I can find all the sources and documents, he may have changed his name. Esteban Santiago may not have been the name he was wanting to choose. So, we don't know. I'm still working on it. There's been more Marines are scheduled to deploy to Helmand Province. And if you know anything about the news, you remember anything about the war in Afghanistan, Helmand Province was a bloody sight for the Marines. It's a very bloody sight. So, what can I say? A number of them are going to be going back there. Now, yep, show prep. We're going to start off with a success. U.S. Special Operations Troop carried out a ground operation in eastern Syria aimed at capturing a Daesh militant. Obviously, no offense, this was most likely Delta Force. And if they're after someone to capture him, he's got information. And he's got information we need. Yes, I know they do a lot of things on kill or capture missions. This was a capture mission. So, just keep that in mind. But I do have to say, way to go, Marines, or way to go, Delta Force Spec Ops. Yes, you did a great job. They were on the ground for approximately 90 minutes. They left the area carrying Daesh captives and reportedly a few bodies. According to the U.S. defense officials in Washington, the U.S. forces intercepted a vehicle carrying a Daesh militant whom the U.S. military had hoped to capture and interrogate. One official spoke, of course, on the condition of anonymity to discuss an operation whose details have not been made public, said a firefight broke out and the suspect, along with another person in the car, was killed. No Americans were injured. My host Kitty was just... I love my host Kitty, don't get me wrong, but sometimes he doesn't understand when I'm on the air. It's not his turn. Colonel John Dorian, spokesman for the U.S. led coalition has confirmed the raid but declined to provide details. The coalition can confirm a U.S. operation took place in the vicinity of Deir al-Zour on January 8th. The U.S. and the entire counter-Daesh coalition will continue to pursue Daesh leaders wherever they are to ensure security and stability of the region and our homelands. Daesh, for those of you who aren't regular listeners to my show, is another name for ISIS or ISIL, and they don't like the name Daesh above all. So that's why I choose to use it. So the U.S. coalition has targeted and killed a string of leaders in recent months, some of them with drone strikes, but ground raids, that's news. No, really. That's news. So now, while we're on that part of the world, our pilots aren't happy. Okay? Our pilots aren't happy. The American crew one night this past fall, a U.S. radar plane flying a routine pattern over Syria picked up a signal from an incoming Russian fighter jet. The American crew radioed repeated warnings on a frequency universal used for distress signals. The Russian pilot didn't respond. Instead, as the U.S. plane began a wide sweep to the south, the Russian fighter jet advanced. It was an Su-35 flanker, turned north and east across America's plain nose, churned up a wave of turbulent airpath, and briefly disrupted everything on the plane. The fighter jet was within approximately 1/8 of a mile. That's a few hundred feet. And in the air, that could be deadly, folks. The skies above Syria are an international incident waiting to happen, according to American pilots, and I've spoken to other pilots from other countries. Remember, I have those crazy contacts? And yeah, there have been some close calls, and these don't get reported. It's an unprecedented situation in which for months U.S. and Russia jets have crowded the same airspace, fighting parallel wars. American pilots are bombing Daesh, are worried about colliding with Russian pilots bombing rebels and trying to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. Now, Russia does sometimes target Daesh. And the Russian pilots fly whether there's a ceasefire in place or not. Oh yes, oh yes. Now, U.S. and Russia militaries have a year-old safety agreement, but American pilots still find themselves having close calls with Russian aviators, either unwilling or unable to follow the rules consistently. Now, as you know, Russia did pull its aircraft carrier out of the Middle East. No offense, folks. It was losing more planes than it was landing. Yeah, it was losing more planes than it was landing in some cases. It wasn't a pretty sight. I'm not going to get into the Russian election hacking. I'm sorry, Russia didn't hack voting machines. Russia hacked the DNC. Okay? And they may or may not, but when you have, here's my statement on the whole thing. When you have people whose password is password, and you have people clicking on phishing links, and you have other people emailing passwords back and forth, hello? I could hack you, and I don't know how. But if you're going to email me your password, yeah, I'm going to be able to get into your system. Now, of course, everyone says Russia's pulling out of Syria. No, they're not. I guarantee they're not. Yet, comrade, they're not. Of course, they did say send its only aircraft carrier back to home port in Severomorsk. The Admiral Kuznetsov arrived in the region in mid-October, dropping anchor just outside the Syrian port of Tarsus. The conflict in Syria began 6 years ago, and this was not the Admiral's Kuznetsov's first, second, or even third trip to the Syrian shoreline. Remember, this is Russia's only aircraft carrier. We have 10, and we still can't keep them all where we want them. So you think Russia, with one aircraft carrier, is going to be able to keep it all in check? No. Admiral Kuznetsov is equipped with approximately 35 jets, 26 helicopters, 18 of which are designed for attack. And you can bet they were key, especially the helicopters were much easier for them to launch and recover in giving Assad's forces cover. Now, it's noted that I'm sure they did pound some Dash fighters, and I know because they're Russia that they attacked the, quote, Syrian rebels. Russia still has 2 air bases in Syria, Latakia and Haimim. Each one of those has approximately 20 fighter jets, 15 helicopters. Russia ain't pulling out, they just sent their aircraft carrier home. So, don't worry about it. Russia has a hidden agenda. I'm suspecting that their aircraft carrier captain will be replaced. This is pure speculation on your host's part, but that's because a number of planes went down on his watch. Alright? There were a number of crashes. So, come on. I'm saying that that's what's going on. They pulled back their aircraft carrier. They are not pulling out. If you think that, you've lost it. Now, in case you might have missed it, Pakistan says it test-fired its first submarine-launched cruise missile! Here we go with the missiles and rockets. Yep. More missiles, more rockets. Pakistan's military says it has successfully test-fired a submarine-launched cruise missile for the first time, giving it a credible second strike capability. A statement Monday said the missile was fired from the Indian Ocean and hit its target. The Barber Cruise 3 missile has a range of 280 miles and can fly low to evade radar and air defenses. The missile is capable of delivering various types of payloads and will provide Pakistan with a credible second strike capability, augmenting deterrence. It appeared to be a reference to a strategy in which the ability to strike back after a nuclear attack deters adversaries from launching one. And just as a reminder, folks, Pakistan is a nuclear power. Pakistan became a nuclear power in 1998 because Pakistan wanted to match that of neighbor and arch-rival India. Okay? Okay. So yes, Pakistan is a nuclear power. Now, in case you missed the hubbub, and it's been widely announced. Oh boy, I gotta reset my audio. Okay, there we go. Much better. I was sounding like a robot. And while I like robots, I don't like to sound like one. No, I don't like to sound like one. In case you miss it, Taiwan's president met with Ted Cruz over the weekend. President Tsai Ing-wen of Taiwan met with Senator Ted Cruz Ted Cruz of Texas in Houston, and then flew off to Latin America. The meeting on Sunday with Mr. Cruz, who of course was a candidate for the president, suggested that Ms. Tsai was looking to expand her ties with the Republican Party as it takes control of the White House. Mr. Cruz released a statement after the meeting. We discussed our mutual opportunity to upgrade the stature of our bilateral relations in a wide-ranging discussion that addressed arms sales, diplomatic exchanges, and economic relations. Now, for those of you who don't understand why that statement is so powerful and why the Chinese are going, no. China says Taiwan is basically a breakaway republic. It wants Taiwan back under its thumb. I'll have to put together a segment on it, but we've embraced a one China policy, which means we recognize Taiwan only as it is a self-governing part of China. And I'm going to pull an example out of another part of the world, because this one's going to be fraught. To continue discussing this in the overall terms, there are countries that are subject to the United Kingdom, or Great Britain, but we're going to call it the United Kingdom for our example. And at some level, they answer to the crown. It may be on a perfunctory, by the way, we're doing this level. It may be a little more. However, they still, on some level, answer to the crown. So, and China says that basically Taiwan is nothing more than a breakaway republic. China says Taiwan needs to answer to it. So that's basically why. It would be like New Zealand telling the British Crown, long walk, short plank, get lost. There are some people that want it, there are some people that don't. What can I say? It's the way it is. Now, that's why China is so upset. We're not supposed to recognize the Taiwan president as the leader of a country. We're supposed to say, oh, it's part of the People's Republic of China. But I have a feeling there's going to be some change in the U.S. policy come January 20th or shortly thereafter. And there's also rumors that the Taiwanese president met with Governor Abbott, Texas Governor Abbott. Yeah, what I can confirm on that. Houston congressional delegation received a curious This is a statement from Cruz. The Houston congressional delegation received a curious letter from the Chinese consulate asking members of Congress not to meet with Tsai and uphold the One China policy. The People's Republic of China needs to understand that we in America make decisions about meeting with visitors for ourselves. This is not about the People's Republic of China. This is about the U.S. relationship with Taiwan, an ally we are legally bound to defend. The Chinese do not give us veto power over who they meet with. We will continue to meet with anything, including the Taiwanese, as we see fit. The Chinese Foreign Ministry also filed an official complaint to the United States after the infamous or famous, depending on how you want to call it, phone call to Trump with President-elect Trump on December 2nd. Before last month, no sitting president or president-elect had spoken to any Taiwanese leaders since President Carter in 1979 cut off official communications with the nation at the request of China. So, Carter basically said, okay, China will do what you want, and no president since then has dared to reverse that policy. My, oh my, oh my, where has the time gone? We have a lot more. I've barely scratched the surface. All right, we are going to take that commercial break, and I cannot run long tonight because I believe if I go peeking at the schedule, there's somebody coming up behind me. And I think I know who it is, but I'm going to refresh my memory. And, of course, it is the Stafford voice. Stafford's amazing. You've got to tune in and watch him. And I say watch because you can either catch the audio if you're out running around over on KLRNRadio.com, or you can actually watch him live on YouTube. All right, we're going to take that commercial break, and I will see you on the other side. Yes, Toast Kitty, we're going.
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they say, and if you wanna turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from the critique of the short story through to line edits on full-length novels. We also offer assistance on generating writers' bios for your websites. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a four-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-757-2782. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-757-2782. That's 877-757-2782.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Alright, thank y'all for hanging in there with me. Nobody likes having to go pay them bills, but I gotta pay them bills. That's what keeps me on the air, folks. Alright, and yes, the Stafford Voice is up next. In fact, he's got a new thing on his website, thestaffordvoice.com. It's his website. He's now got a page set up so you can either listen to the audio, watch the video, and chat all in one place. That's cool. Way to go, Dan. Way to go. Although we love to have you over on KLRNRadio.com as well. Alright, back to the news. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the Marines will be deploying to Helmand Province again.
The Marine Corps has been tasked to deploy approximately 300 Marines into Helmand Province, Afghanistan this spring. We're calling that force Task Force Southwest, made up of Marines from the 2MEF Expeditionary Force at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and led by Brigadier General Roger Turner.
All right, 300. It's not many, but for many Marines, I'm not sure it's a place they want to go back to. If you don't know what I'm talking about, put in Helmand Province and Marines. Helmand Province includes Fallujah, folks. So it was a very bloody sight for many Marines. Now, in other news, yes, I've still got more. There was an attack, a terrorist attack in Jerusalem over the weekend. And I thought this was interesting because the UN, as we've discussed on this show, can be rather anti-Israel. Here was the official statement.
I'll start off with a statement on the terrorist attacks. A terrorist attack took place in Jerusalem. The Secretary General condemns the terrorist attack by Palestinian assailant, which took place in Jerusalem yesterday. He conveys his condolences to the bereaved families and wishes a swift recovery to those who were injured. Violence and terror will not bring a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, quite the opposite. All those responsible for such acts must be brought to justice, condemned and disavowed. Their acts should not be allowed to deter from the need for a renewed commitment to dialogue.
Okay, so even they agree that the attacks shouldn't have happened?
The Secretary General will be leaving New York.
Okay, we don't need to hear about the Secretary General of the United Nations trip to Geneva. He's going to go chair a bunch of people talking. When they actually do something, I'll worry about it. But I do like the official statements, as it does break up the monotony that I sometimes have on this show. So keep putting out those official statements, and we'll probably keep playing them from time to time. Moving right along. The reports are that there were 5 killed and 15 injured. Now, this isn't the way to peace, folks. However, I found a graphic from a poll, and I found it on my own site, KLRNRadio.com, that 63% of Palestinians say it is the way to peace. Fighting, violence. Whatever happened to talking and discussions? Now, our Mosul update. Yes, I've got a Mosul update. East Mosul, we were taken within a few days. Insha'Allah, which means God willing. From Lieutenant General Abdul Ghani al-Assadi. A day after the Iraqi counterterrorism service forces reached the eastern side of a bridge across the Tigris River. Now, for those of you who don't remember your Mosul geography, the Tigris River divides Mosul. The counterterrorism service is working to seize areas overlooking Mosul University in the city's northeast after taking over a nearby district. The Validat neighborhood is done, and Sukar should be done before nightfall. The area is important because it overlooks the university. It is a central district. If it falls, we'll control the forests, the presidential palaces, and the eastern bank of the Tigris. Now, why is a river important? Well, there's the obvious: a river equals water. Everybody needs water. Okay? There's the other. It's a natural geographic boundary. It's a way of signifying how much you've gotten done. So, let me see if I can find Colonel Dorian's official statement about the Tigris. I'll give myself just a shot to pull it up. Let me see. Let me see if I got that on tap. But while we keep discussing it. Alright, Colonel John Dorian, for those of you who don't remember, must not be regular listeners to this show. He is the spokesman for Operation Inherent Resolve. Now let me see what I've got queued up here.
JD, if we could ask you to go back, we lost you when we switched to the video. Could we ask you to tell us about the video again, and then we're...
Okay, that's...
about the Turks moving on El Bab, basically cutting off the two Kurdish enclaves.
That's Kurdish stuff.
20 kilometers, 25 kilometers, something like that.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm not going to get into the coordination process that we have with Turkey. That's something that we do between us and our...
I am not able to find the statement on the Tigris River, but I have the quote. He said that the counterterrorism service foray to Tigris was more than just a symbolic value for the 12-week operation to retake Mosul. It's a natural landmark and a barrier that the enemy would have to navigate, escape, or reinforce. would have to navigate to either escape or reinforce the fighters left in Mosul. So, it's a good thing. We had a little dust-up between South Korea and Japan over the weekend. Well, early in the year. They have what they call a comfort woman statue. Now, World War II, for those of you who aren't students of history, was very much a time of many things, including slavery. In this case, it was sexual slavery. Japan took over South Korea and forced many women into sexual slavery. And the Japanese consulate strongly objected to the presence of the statue because it was near their gates where their diplomats would see it as they came and went about their daily routine. Japan registered the complaints. And even as the first anniversary of the landmark agreement between South Korea and Japan to resolve their dispute has come and gone, there's still little diplomatic things like, let's yank our diplomat, let's do this, let's do that. It's never ending. Alright. Moving right along. Iran. Yes, what would a show be without Iran being in the news? I think it would be a show around here. Come on. Iran's always on my radar. Oh, and just as a reminder, folks, I will be going out on taps tonight. Not on my regular music, and you know what that means. There has been a member of the United States Armed Forces officially announced as a casualty. Alright, Iran's Deputy Foreign Ministry for Legal and International Affairs, Syed Abbas Arkachi, made remarks while addressing reporters in Tehran on Monday. We will not tolerate any country violating its commitments in relation to the the Iran nuke deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran will react accordingly to such actions. Iran and the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, which are the United States, France, Great Britain, Russia, and China, plus Germany, started implementing the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA, which is the official name for that piece of paper that isn't worth the cost of printing. However, Iran is going to get natural uranium brought to the country. Yes, natural uranium. Why? Why do they want it? Why do they need it? Well, number of reasons. They could be legitimately using it for electrical power. Here's the story I was looking for. 2 senior Iranian diplomats said the transfer was recently approved by the U.S. and 5 other world powers that negotiated the nuclear deal with Iran and foresees delivery of 116 metric tons, that's nearly 130, right? Tons in our language, of natural uranium. The UN Security Council approval is needed, but it's a formality considering 5 of those powers are permanent Security Council members. Uranium can be enriched from levels ranging from reactor fuel or medical research purposes, or up to the atomic bomb level. Iran, of course, says, we have no interest in the atomic bomb. You guys believe that? You guys really believe that Iran doesn't want the bomb? I think Iran doesn't want the bomb any more than North Korea doesn't want the bomb. This is what I think Iran's doing. They're laughing. They're laughing all the way to the bank. Now, of course, any natural uranium transferred to Iran after the deal came into effect will be under strict surveillance by the UN International Atomic Energy Agency for 25 years. But Iran could choose to store it, turn it into low-enriched uranium, and export it for use as reactor fuel, etc. So now, if you remember your science, and we did an episode of Conversation in Science. In fact, it was one of the first ones, and it's still one of the most watched ones. Or listened to, I should say. One of the top episodes of Conversations in Science.
You want to also the same thing? Yes, on the same thing, yeah. So they were permitted to bring in natural uranium, as you say, but the Associated Press story that Matt referenced seems to suggest that this particular batch has been permitted by some kind of decision. Now, without confirming that, as you say, you can't.
Right.
Do they have to inform their partners in the DCP when they do bring in natural uranium?
I'm going to have to take the question. I don't know. And again, I want to be clear. I cannot confirm the press reporting on this. I'm not going to speak about the working groups, anything that would violate the working group's confidentiality. But as a matter of procedure, I'd have to ask. I don't know. Okay, Leslie.
Can I change the subject to Taiwan?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So basically, John Kirby had his usual no-answer answers. Let's see what he said earlier in the statement.
Under the deal now for them to bring this material in.
But, I mean, if you're looking at this from the perspective of other countries in the region, Gulf Arab countries, I mean, 25 years isn't that long, is it not?
Well, for you and me, it might.
It might be for us, but we're talking about,
look,
generations.
I do understand where the question's going. There's no prohibition under the deal now for them to bring this material in its natural form. It cannot be enriched. It cannot be used. For a weapon. There is a very strong inspection regime in place.
Okay, so he wants to trust the inspectors, but if you remember the inspection protocol,
and for well into the future to prevent Iran from
Hang on, I'm trying to find the beginning of this statement. He babbles so much.
There are
after those.
The short version is Iran can bring it in. They can legally enrich it to use in their reactor to produce electricity. According to the Iran nuclear deal, they cannot enrich it to highly enough to make a bomb out of it. However, if you recall that episode of Conversations in Science, you put uranium into a nuclear reactor. You get out plutonium. Plutonium is the material that is usable in a nuclear bomb. It may take a little more processing, but you get out a highly dangerous substance. This is a fairly significant amount of natural uranium. Should Iran decide just to keep it in storage, it'll still be a highly dangerous amount of uranium in 25 years. Remember, this stuff takes decades to go away. Alright, gotta love President Bashar al-Assad. I think the whole world was horrified at the bombing of Aleppo. UN says the airstrikes by the government and its allies on a civilian-packed area in the battle's final stages were probably a war crime. And Russia helped Syria with these airstrikes. However, Bashar al-Assad said it was justified. I had to do what I had to do. It's an estimate that 21,500 civilians were killed in Aleppo. And Assad says, was it better to leave the civilians under the rebel supervision, under oppression, or was it better to bomb them? The rebels, of course, eventually surrendered 3 weeks ago as part of a deal to allow civilians and rebels to travel to other rebel-held areas in Syria. And, as you well know, that means that this isn't over. It isn't over. It just moved. It picked up and moved down the street, is what it did. Nothing was ended. President Bashar al-Assad claimed the rebels were breaching the ceasefire in and around Damascus. And just as a reminder, folks, there are thousands in and around Damascus still. Even though the focus is off Aleppo and off everything, there are still thousands of people without basic necessities such as water. Why? Yeah, why? That's kind of what I wanted to know. Well, they're without water because no one can get in reliably, routinely, regularly, or safely to fix the water system. Alright. I am almost out of time. Former President Abar Hashemi Rafsanjani will be buried in the shrine of the Ayatollah who led Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution. Now, the Ayatollah who led the revolution once proclaimed the revolution is alive as long as Rafsanjani is alive. The direction of that revolution and Iran's cleric-ruled political system looks a lot less clear. Now, Rafsanjani was 82, so we're not looking at somebody poisoning him or shooting him. Rafsanjani was more of a moderate. The political gravitas Rafsanjani had went beyond political factions. He was one of the pillars of and power brokers who everyone knew that as long as he's there, somehow there will be a balance preserving the system. Rafsanjani was the right-hand man of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the charismatic leader in the 1979 revolution. He led the military during the ruinous Iran-Iraq War, and he helped launch Iran's nuclear program. So this is not a saint. In the years after Khomeini's 1989 death, Rafsanjani represented one of the ever-shrinking number of leaders directly tied to the Islamic Revolution. Even the nation's sworn enemy, the Iranian opposition group in exile called the Mujahideen al-Khalaq, which is a sign of respect and endearment, and acknowledged his role as one of the two pillars and the key to equilibrium of the country. Internal, his legacy is a bit mixed. He was massively wealthy, a veteran at maneuvering within Iran's opaque political system. Remember, there is no transparency over there, folks. It's very much opaque. What's this mean politically in Iran? It's going to shake Iran politics to the core. Now, it's not going to happen immediately. Rouhani is expected to run for re-election, and there's no major hardliners immediately known to be challenging him, but one never knows for sure in Iran. However, without Rafsanjani, tensions between reformers and hardliners could rise. Now, the hardliners need to back off, give everybody a little time to grieve, and try and remember Rafsanjani. And take this step by step. Khomeini has outlived Rafsanjani. The assembly of experts will lose a powerful voice that could have helped nudge the selection of the next supreme leader in a more moderate direction. Rafsanjani's long life and relevance in Iranian politics shows he will be hard to replace as the country decides the direction of its revolution. He has been for people inside of Iran the face of the evolution of the revolutionary figures. He himself evolved over the years while maintaining a very influential role in the political system. Alright, one last Iran story and then we're going out on taps tonight. A U.S. Navy destroyer fired multiple warning shots at Iranian patrol boats as they sped towards the destroyer at the entrance to the Persian Gulf with their weapons manned. The crew of the U.S. Mahan fired warning shots after attempting to establish contact with the Iranians after dropping smoke flares. The officials said they spoke on condition of anonymity. The Navy occasionally has confrontations with Iranian naval forces in the Persian Gulf, but they usually do not reach the point of prompting warning shots. A U.S. Navy told officials the Mahan was transiting the Strait of Hormuz when the Iranian boat sped toward it and failed to halt, despite U.S. cautionary moves. The main concern on board the Mahan was with the speed which the boats were approaching rather than their proximity. The boats were approximately 900 yards away when the warning shots were fired. The Iranian boats did break away after the warning shots and then made radio contact with the Mahan, asking its course and speed. So it took warning shots to get to Iran to back off. Alright. Last thing, just as a reminder, folks, you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV, and up next is the Stafford Voice. The Department of Defense announced today the death of a soldier who was supporting Operation Inherent Resolve. Specialist Isaiah L. Booker of Cibola, Texas, died January 7th in Jordan in a non-combat related incident. The incident is under investigation. Booker was assigned to 2nd Battalion, 5th Special Forces Group, Fort Campbell, Kentucky.